Yeah.
What's that car show called? The rich motherfuckers, bro.
I
They
don't.
have.
That's
They
Oh,
the ones.
it's with
Hold
an
on, I'm
S.
trying to do
S
shit.
S
We got to figure
something. I
this
forget
out.
what
I know what you're talking about. Man.
Sanko. No, it's not Sanko. I don't know, but
It's like
I know.
some British something and something brothers, but it'll be some shit like they'll have like the 19 something something Mercedes Gold Wing from the original 007
Yeah.
movie going off, auctioned off like opening bid 1.5.
Yeah.
Not ain't no thousands in the shit neither. I don't care how 100 like 1.5 million. So like that was the equivalent of that being in like Art and Jane's living room. The fish, bro. I
Yeah.
got
I'm
like
finding out
untouchables.
that those small, like club driven events can be really nice. I mean, you get
Bro.
some. There's a lot of hobbyists that people don't know about. A lot of these breeders that are just kind of kept to themselves and stay locally, but they have some amazing fish, and it's you know I guess it's good and it's bad. It's good because it allows them to focus on what they're doing, so they're putting out quality product. It's bad
Right.
because they don't get the exposure that they probably should deserve.
Right.
So
What's the
It's
club you like over in on the West Coast, Jorge?
see, I have to drive. It doesn't matter which one I go to because I'm three
uh,
hours away from 3 hours away from Phoenix, 3 hours away from San Diego, or three and a half up to LA. So I'm kind of in that no man's land kind of area. And
That's
I've been very fortunate that I've been able to go to all three. And each one is very unique in its own way, and and it has something to offer. That's the one thing that I've kind of been very grateful about being able to go to all these different clubs is that each one is, even though they're kind of the structure the same, the fish that come through, the people that are there, and the quality of the stuff, it all kind of everybody has like their own little niche. It's weird.
yeah.
It's called like boutique shopping. That's what I call it.
It's funny you mentioned that because I haven't had an opportunity. I mean, I talk to a lot of people in the fish world, but most of them are here in Florida with me. And other, I
mhm.
mean, I know people from online and YouTube, but I don't really get a chance to talk. Some people in the Midwest, the Northeast. I don't really get a chance to talk to people about the West Coast fish clubs. So it's interesting to hear you talk about that. And it stinks that they're like 3 hours plus each one away. But it's very similar to my experience here in Florida. I'm in Orlando, and believe it or not, there's no fish clubs in Orlando, but I'm like an hour to an hour and a half away from at least three that I go to regularly. And it's kind of the same thing where they're each great clubs, but they all kind of do different things better than the other one. And the people there keep somewhat different fish. But you go even as far as like Atlanta, which is about 6 hours away, but I go there and it's like a totally different world. Like what people don't want here, they want there, and what people have
Mhm.
there, don't have here. It's like a whole different like universe. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
See, that's what I was talking about. Those
Hey, Tommy.
I got Poro Panchax, Rincarelli. Or you could call the synonym is Aploculites Rincarelli. They are a nothobranchid, but they're in the Posiliid family. They're lampies, and they're almost like the Normani, the Norman's lampi, but they're
Yeah.
not. And nobody has them damn near in the hobby, much less in the country. But I got them, and those it's like that showroom floor stuff. Like I saw them on the list, and I was like, no fucking way. And it's sad. There's something inside of you, like if the world went to shit and it was zombies, and we had to fight over a piece of meat like dogs or eat rats out of the subway. When you see these auction lists, it's like this animalistic instinct, like this greed, like Smeagol. You feel me? On Lord of the Rings, like I know it. I didn't say shit. like nothing, just like all nonchalant, even to the point of putting emphasis on some shit that I didn't even fucking want, just to get the hype over there. And then when the other stuff came up, like I'll take it, and then getting it for like knockout prices. But then like when I get home, I'm like, yes, like Scrooge McDuck in the money. And that happened the same thing with the Galitis, Ticos.
That's a fish. You don't
the-
see those. Yeah, you don't see that fish. So even if you could, to get a deal on that, to find that fish is one thing. To get a deal on that fish is a whole nother thing. 'Cause that's crazy.
Yep. So like it is cool that me and you was just talking about that. Like clubs versus commercial gatherings. Is that fair to call stuff like that commercial gatherings?
You talk about like the bigger
seminars
show.
and festivals and stuff. Yeah.
That's what I mean. In the last year, 2 years, since I haven't been putting out as much YouTube content at all, I've been really immersed in like I joke that like my life revolves around the Saturday fish clubs, because the three I go to are the second Saturday, the third Saturday, and the fourth Saturday of every month. So usually the first Saturday of the month, and then if there's a fifth Saturday, those are like my free Saturdays. But everyone in my life knows that like second, third, and fourth Saturday, that's like fish club, stuff. Because I really do enjoy the camaraderie. I enjoy getting together, the auctions, the social aspect. I really enjoy that a lot. Of course, the fish too.
Right.
Well, one of the things that I was very surprised, and I see it more with like the Killie crowd, I guess the Killie fish clubs or the American Live Bears, they seem to travel better than the local members of the regular fish clubs. And the reason I say this is because when I got invited to San Diego, I got to meet some of the people there, and then we had a big event similar to Taco that happens in Houston. Mm-hmm. They had one, and I can't remember what the acronyms was, but they had ARC, something like that. ARC. Yeah, something in the Phoenix area. And I saw not a lot, but I saw several people I recognized from when I went to San Diego. And then there was an event that they had up in the LA area, and I saw some of the same people. And then, interestingly enough, at the auction where we had the one in Phoenix, I was telling Steve, I said there was this one kid that flew in all the way from Houston and was buying everything up. I mean, he was just buying, and it turns out Steve knew exactly who he was, and he's a big player in the club that he went to. So that's the one thing that I find, even within all the clubs, there's certain groups, there's certain smaller clubs or more niche clubs, and I think that they seem to travel even better because they're so niche that whenever there's an event for them, and especially like with the Killie and the Live Bears, they seem to be willing to go to those events because they know they're going to go see. It's a little bit more focused on what they're really interested in.
Right.
And I thought that was so neat. Yeah. Discovering that I thought was like awesome because it goes to show that no matter how big we think our niches and how big our group is and all that, at the end of the day, everybody will kind of link in and know somebody. That's what I've always said. The only thing that has value in this community is your worth, and it's real easy that if you become somebody who becomes shady and trying to cheat people out, you're not going to last very long because word's going to get out there like that.
It's a tight-knit community. I feel like it's definitely a lot of people know each other. And to your point, I agree in terms of like the national organizations, because they're more specialized. Like at least the clubs by me, all three clubs that I'm talking about, they're just general. Essentially, I mean, it's not that you can't be into saltwater, but they're freshwater clubs. They're just general freshwater clubs. They're not like a cichlid club. They're not a live bear club. They're just general tropical fish clubs or native, whatever. You bring it.
I like that. That's good.
But I'm also a part of some of these larger, more national / specialized, like the ALA, the American Live Bear Association, AKA the American Killie Fish Association. Like I I like going to those events. Like when I went to Triple Crown last year, or just the individual ALA. Actually, next year, the 2024, because I think they're all done for this year, but next year, the 2024, the American Livebearer Association and the American Keelyfish Association, as well as the IBC, which is the International Betta Congress. So their national group for people into, I think they do like wild type and Betta Splendens.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, all three of those organizations are going to have their national event, meetup, convention, whatever the heck, in Tampa next like May or June.
Well,
so
lucky.
I'll definitely
They coming to
you guys. Yeah, it's good because to me it's like it is an event, but it's not like an Aquashella or an Aqua Expo. It's more akin to a fish club meeting, but you do have people that fly in from all over the country.
Right.
For that. And the cool thing
I'm
about
thinking
that,
about it.
There's
when
a
is it?
Effect. It's gonna be the end of next May, early June. I don't know the exact date.
My birthday around. See now. Yes, indeed. This sounds like okay. That's a bet.
Yeah, and I think they're gonna plan some collecting trips and stuff since it's here in Florida. So stuff like that, it's fun. I really enjoy trips like that. And they're not. I mean, it's not 5,000 people. It's like 100 people. Something like that, or even less probably. I don't know. But it's
bits.
Yeah, good crowd, but it's not crazy. Like you can kind of recognize everybody by the end of the weekend. You recognize everybody that's there.
Right. And let's talk about that. Like certain things are more tailored towards large groups of people versus other things. Along the lines of, I don't necessarily see it feasible taking an Aquashella size crowd out collecting because you're gonna do more damage than good. Like we got to think about the impact. You know what I'm saying?
Let me sorry to interrupt you, but it's driving me nuts. Am I the only one that's listening to
you hear echo?
And it's only when you speak, Steve. So it's got to be a connection or something.
I don't hear it, but I don't know.
Every once in a while, I hear it.
Yeah, it's like at the very end, you hear a little bit of.
Is it gone now?
Yeah, it seems like
now it's gone. I don't know.
Okay.
Huh?
It was driving me.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was y'all. Oh well. So no, like you can't take 500 people out collecting natives in a group. That's just not. It's not feasible. I mean, where would you do it without doing more negative impact, more harm than good? Like how would you? Can you? Is it feasible to commercialize something like that?
I don't think so. I mean, it's difficult. I mean, most times when I go collecting, it's like me plus one, me plus two people. Solo in some spots, not a lot of spots, but sometimes in some spots I'll go solo. There is some instances on a rare occasion where like I've planned kind of two trips, one in January and one like a month or two ago, where I got together like, I don't know, 15, 20 people, like friends. And in those cases, like usually it's kids too on purpose. Like the goal of that is not necessarily, oh, we're trying to get this fish or we're trying to find this new. The goal of that is, hey, social gathering.
Right.
Let's get the kids to have fun. Let's see how many different types of fish we can catch and kind of just show off and whatever.
Right. Y'all can break up in little small clusters and then meet back up.
Yeah, because even then it's like you got cars. Some of the spots you go in collecting, there's not places to park 10 cars, let alone, so yeah, it can get clunky if you got too large of a group, and it stinks because like you don't want to, not allow certain people to come, or obviously you want to go collecting. It's fun to do it together. As a matter of fact, it'll be interesting for the first time ever. One of my fish clubs, actually the biggest local fish club that I belong to, for their November meeting, we don't have the meeting hall that we normally are going to be in. So they're going to do a collecting trip in lieu of that. And I suspect that's going to be probably, I mean, normal meetings get 80 people, 60, 80 people. So I'd expect that like this trip is going to have at least 20 people, if not 40 people. So it'll be interesting. But they just got to pick spots that are, okay for that, I guess. But even then, it's going to be, it's a different experience.
See, here at GHAC, we done did that. And I was in Virginia, but a couple of times where they got the kids together and we'll go around and go on collecting trips. You got to have your fishing license in Texas to collect. So, you go get the licenses. And I think under a certain age, like 16 or something, you don't need one. And it's just the adults and everybody go out collecting. So it's a good thing.
Well, since we're on that subject, let me ask you this, Brian, because I've always been curious. I know when you started out your channel, a lot of this stuff was just you buying stuff, collecting stuff. At what point did you all of a sudden say, "Hey, why don't I start going out and seeing what's?" Or has that always been part of your hobby?
No, it wasn't always part of my hobby. Actually, there's a kind of a defining moment. I can kind of attribute it to a couple people, but one specifically because I still have a text message from my buddy Jose. It was like in 2018. I had already started my channel. I probably was like a year into my YouTube channel, and my buddy Jose, he has a small YouTube channel and Instagram called Wakaiva Aquatics.
Okay,
He had went out. Yeah, he had went out and he had found these fish that he put in his summer tub, just a little like 10-gallon tub he had, and they were least killifish. But he didn't know that at the time. He put them in there. I think I went and I filmed a video at his place, and he was talking about the fish. And then afterwards, he's like, "Oh, Ryan, they're actually this fish. I found out like they're this, they're least killifish, Heterangia formosa. They're like the smallest fish in the world." Da, 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 da. And the truth is, at the time, I was kind of like, "Okay, cool, whatever, no big deal." But then like he kind of rubbed off on me. We went collecting, him and I, a couple times, and then I kind of got more and more tapped into other people that were intrigued by it. And then especially like I just became like a little kid. It's like, okay, I can catch this in a creek. What else can I catch in a creek?
Yeah,
Now that's funny because I'm laughing because I remember that story of the least killifish because I was living in Virginia and I was getting them for free from the pet store as bycatch. I knew what they were, and I was laughing because like everybody on YouTube would be like, "Oh, filter this, that, blah, blah, blah," and I was like, "Man, I got least killifish in a 40 breeder right now."
That's Jose. Yeah, that's Jose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's funny. I remember that.
Yeah, I remember watching this video, and didn't he also bring in some pygmy sunfish also that he had collected or something like that, or is it just the least killifish?
Well, yeah. So him and I, we were on a quest for, it seemed like forever. It was probably like at least a year though. We were trying to find pygmy sunfish. So we went to different streams, ponds, whatever. Finally, it was in Wakaiva River actually. He caught one male pygmy sunfish, and then even after we caught that one male pygmy sunfish, we had just that one pygmy sunfish for like a while before I found some other spots where little larger populations. But for the most, I mean, there is some spots where they're more. That's the tiger teddy. Yeah, those are cool. But yeah, no, that's if I had to point to one guy that got me into native fish and collecting, it would be Jose right there for sure.
So that was the beginning of you starting to go out and venture into the wild.
Yeah.
Is that around the same time that your names changed? Because I remember when I started following you, you were Lucky Schmuck. And then
I went from Lucky Schmuck's fish tanks to Wild Fish Tanks at I forget when, maybe 2019 or something like that. But yeah, after me doing some more of the wild stuff, I was looking for a name change because I really like the idea of Lucky Schmuck. I think Lucky Schmuck was funny to me, but people didn't know how to spell schmuck as much, and some people look like like that's like, what is it, yish, I think, or whatever. I think it's, most people don't care, but some people it's like, oh, that's a dirty term, so whatever. Wild Fish Tanks kind of made sense. It was easy. It's simple. It kind of goes in line with collecting the wild stuff. So.
Well, since we got you in here and we're kind of there, and I mean, everybody's piling in, you want to give shout outs now? Because I was going to go ahead and say, let's give shout outs and then let you tell the people who you are, how you got started, your brief history. So let's get into the shout outs real quick. Jorge, you want to drop shout outs real quick?
Yeah,
And then
I
let
just want
Ryan
to
do
point
his
something
thing.
out. Somebody's calling me out on not watching your content because they said that you
Oh.
just dropped new content recently. I know I had looked at it last night and I didn't see anything new, but you got fans that are more on top of it than I do.
Well, he's talking about
I'm
Instagram.
sorry, now you say nothing.
That's my buddy
So
Magnus.
I'm even getting called out.
That's funny. Magnus. That's my friend Magnus. He's probably talking about the Instagram and stuff though. Because unless someone's been hacking my YouTube channel and putting out videos for me, I ain't put out a YouTube video in a minute.
Yeah.
Well, since you mentioned that, I know your channel, your primary channel has been on YouTube, but you also have a content on Instagram. Do you do TikTok at all, or?
No, it's mostly like YouTube was my primary one, but like I said, Instagram. I have Facebook too, but I'm not that active there. But no, I don't really have a I don't have a TikTok at all. Not even personal, really. But yeah, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So let me go ahead and acknowledge some of the people here with us real quick. I want to say thank you to Mandy. The Zen Ginger is here with us. Silver Creek Aquatics, Tommy, thank you for joining us today.
Yo.
Skull Aquatics, Curtis, thanks for being here this morning.
Curtis, hit me up with them fish.
We got Watts Water, Jeffrey, thank you for being here today. Geek Boy, thanks for joining us this morning. Let's see, we got Fish Fan Link, thank you very much for always supporting all of us. And are you familiar with Fish Fan Link, Brian?
I know they make like the badges and stuff, or the QR codes, so they can scan it and it goes to like your page, and they can go to all your socials.
Well, not only that, they provide the service where they'll link all your content, all the links to your content, where like you have stuff on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Well, they'll put all your links for people to try to get a hold of you on one site, and they've been doing this for a while. And then also, if you're trying to figure out who's going live, they have a live calendar where you can go in there and see who's actually streaming live. And if you're looking for a particular stream, they have a calendar with all the dates of people that are doing live streams. For the most part, obviously, you have to update that information and let them know that you're doing that. But it's a really nice resource, especially if you're trying to find new content creators and stuff like that. So and they've been doing that for a while. So I always try to give them a little shout out for everything that they do. They're not charging anybody to do this. It's a completely free service that they do for all of us that have content. So so that's them. And then we have Logan Luckless. Thank you for being here. That's got to be probably one of your followers because I've never seen that name on.
Yeah, Logus and Magnus you'll see them. I have a lot of videos filmed with them, but not a lot of videos I put out with them. I have Instagram. Like I went to Triple Crown. Like if you look at the stuff from like Triple Crown, we did a road trip to Triple Crown with them. They're young Florida boys. Yeah, they like grew up.
That's the Florida crew. Magnus, it's up to me. Yeah. That's some Florida boys.
Yeah, they grew up like both of their parents had fish tanks and stuff like that. They know their stuff. Yeah.
All right. Well, I just want to say thank you guys for joining us today. Let's see if anybody else before we get going. Alishon, thank you very much for joining us today this morning. And let me see, are we caught up with everybody? It seems so. So, all right.
Yeah, Geek Boy in here.
Yeah, Geek Boy.
All right. Well, I appreciate y'all for being here, man. And you too, Ryan, especially because I know you busy as hell. Just like me, like Jorge. Look like you've been working long nights.
Yeah, we had some guys take some vacation, so we were doing 12-hour shifts. But like I was telling Ryan, the only reason this morning I sent you that message that I thought I was going to be running a little bit late is because yesterday my wife got a nice little promotion at work, and we went out to celebrate this morning. So that's why we were.
Heck yeah, that's what's up.
I know it was something that she was looking forward to, and this kind of happened a lot sooner than we were expecting. So, and I hadn't seen her. I hadn't seen her in almost 72 hours. We were sleeping in the same bed, but our schedules were so lopsided, and with me working 12 hours, it was just kind of that's the only time that I got to spend any time with her is when we were sleeping, and that was it. The rest of the days we were just kind of crossing paths.
It be like that.
Yeah,
It'd be
so
like
it was.
that.
I had to do something this morning, but luckily it all worked out. I was able to be here on time and still be able to do what I wanted to do. So
That's what's up.
Cool.
Well, Ryan, you pretty much got the floor, man. Introduce yourself for the people who don't know and for those that'll catch the replay. And the biggest question is, what's in a name? Wild Fish Tanks. Talk about your ethos and getting outside and all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up, I'll start kind of like with my full history. It's not too long because I didn't really keep tanks as a kid that much. I had like a standard, I think it was a 20-gallon tank as a kid. I had like, I think I had like a ball of shark in there, some tetras. I don't remember exactly what all I had in the tank, but I had a tank for a little bit as a kid, but I wasn't like super into it. I grew up on Long Island in New York, so not the most like nature-laden place in the earth, but also not like in the city either. There were some creeks and stuff to get your feet wet in. So I did some of that. Me and some friends like catching toads and lizards and just looking at fish in streams, doing some fishing as a kid. And then fast forward to, this is where it gets a little weird because my fish keeping history as an adult starts with tilapia, believe it or not with like aquarium fish by any means. It starts with tilapia, and I did put out a video on that, so I won't go into the whole story, but long story short, I had an opportunity to work with like a storage container. Me and a friend thought it'd be a good idea to like raise tilapia and sell them to like local fish, local food trucks, like for fish tacos, or local like little small restaurants, like, farm to table, like locally raised. We were actually, this is before I knew that duckweed was like aquarium herpes. Me and my buddy, we were not in the aquarium world. We were just like doing videos and looking up stuff on how to like raise tilapia. So we were more like, I didn't know like the fish world. I was looking more at stuff on videos on YouTube on like
aquaculture.
Aquaculture stuff. Exactly.
There you go. You're using duckweed for food. It was free, sustainable food.
Exactly.
Organic
so
and healthy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Give us the duckweed. We're gonna feed these things duckweed mostly. It's gonna be like
I've seen them videos, low key.
Yeah, but then what happened was we couldn't grow the duckweed. We realized that like we needed more space than 4 IBC totes in my garage to raise like hundreds of tilapia to like sellable size. So that kind of just like faded out quickly. But then I was left with like some aquarium supplies and some tanks, and I had actually watched I'll give him a shout out, Joey King of DIY. I don't watch his stuff as much anymore, but he had like this DIY weir system, and I had yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the remnants of me. That's me telling the story of the tilapia breeding facility in my garage, and we bred a lot of tilapia. Breeding the tilapia was not a problem. It was just the space. Those are the 4 IBC totes in my garage, and it was just DIY, all sorts of stuff. And like, it kind of ended in an epic failure, but in terms of like, we never sold any fish to, fish taco stand or anything like that. Never got even close to there. So it was like a failure in that regard, but it gave birth to, what I call the fish cave and like, my hobby as an aquarium, as aquarist, as an adult. Because when those tanks and aquarium supplies were sitting there, until you become a homestead, then it's a gift. Yeah. I've heard people take duckweed and then like they dry it out, and then they use that for different things to start.
Yeah, I use it.
Yeah.
I use it for my water chickens, my crawfish. I got this bullshit experiment I'm doing. Same thing. You know how you just had these harebrained experiments like, I bet that shit'll work. Then you do it. So I got them in this 75, and I'll throw shit in there. Scraps. Because I ain't got no chickens. And I cook. And I don't like to waste. And I'm like, man, I wish I had some chickens to throw this shit to. Like, fuck it. So one time I just threw some vegetable scraps in there, and I did like this to hope like that it didn't nuke the tank, And I went back the next day, and that shit was gone. It was just rubber bands floating in there. I seen the rubber band floating real talk, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And I was getting ready to whoop her ass because I thought some vandalism had taken place. And I was like, somebody been out here committing, some fuckery. Like, I'm going to beat somebody. And because it was a produce blue rubber band, like the ones that be on broccoli and cilantro and shit. That one, it was just out there, just tinkering. And I looked and I was like, no, bro, they demolished. Like, there's no way they could have ate it that fast. And I was looking and there was no trace of it, gone. So that's what started my theoretical, because I'm like, man, crawfish high at Fiesta. I remember in the 80s, and when I was little, them bitches were like 69 cents a pound. Now they got dollars behind it. Like, you gonna pay at least $7, $8 for mud bugs. And that's raw bulk. That's just beyond inflation. That's just, bruh, that's lobster price. $7.99 on sale. Shit. Costco Sam.
You'd be surprised some of the stuff they find. Like, it was probably a month or two ago, I was out actually collecting with the Magnus and Logan, who were in the chat. They live on the east coast of Florida. And I was over there. We were collecting like in a brackish kind of like right where like the stream kind of goes into the ocean.
Right.
We caught these like two, like I think the common name is a long arm prawn. And these weren't even full ones. These are the first ones I ever seen. They weren't even full grown. But these
those are the Robinsoni, right? Blue. They have blue arms.
It was Macabrachium something.
Yeah, Macabrachiums. Are those the Robinsoni? I think they're are they invasive?
I don't know. If Magnus and Logan are still in the chat, they'll know. I don't know. They know more about it. But I had never seen them, and he was like, yeah, people eat these. Like maybe not around here, but definitely some people, like it's an eatable prawn for sure. It's big, gets big enough. Like these things were like 6-8 inches, and I think he said they got to like a foot long.
Yeah, I think it's Rosenberg. Yeah. Let me see this joint right.
What I want to say is this the appropriate gear to wear when you go out collecting?
You gonna pull up the Ric Flair stuff? Yeah.
I gotta admit that is one of my favorite. I'm not gonna play it because I want people to go check it out.
Yeah.
But of all the things you've done, there's a lot of great information. But the one that entertained me the most and I got the most laughs was from this video. I mean, when you pulled this shit off, I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah.
Oh,
but, I saw one day. I just saw like the Nature Boy fish. You know, because I'm a Colts fan, and there was like 10 years ago or so, for whatever reason, the Indianapolis Colts adopted like Ric Flair, and when they were winning games, they were like singing like Ric Flair stuff in the locker room or whatever the heck. And obviously, of course, I remember it from when I was younger watching wrestling. Yeah. And I was like Nature Boy, Mountain Wild. I'm gonna just do it.
I'm laughing because I remember when I used to give you shit for being a Colts fan because I'm a Texans fan, and you'd be like, man, they pissed me off.
Well, I think we both got a guy. It looks like we both got a quarterback. So
yeah. Hey, I got this shrimp. Tell me if this is the one. Is that him?
I mean, it looks to me, but there's one of those things where I don't know enough. Where I mean, it could be close to that one, but yeah, it's definitely similar to that. You know. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. That
sizable, dude.
Look at that. Boy,
Yeah.
that's some. Hey, man, get you some bacon and some sticks. Boy. Woo. Y'all so lucky in Florida down there. I'm trying to tell you, you don't need nothing.
Well, look, this is something I also wanted to talk about. I know you said you're in Orlando, so that's northern Florida. But every time I hear Florida, I guess of southern Florida, where it's just infested with alligators and snakes and all this stuff. And every time I hear people going collecting out there, I go, God, these guys are insane. You know, I'd be more worried about catching a damn alligator than it would be, you know, the little fish you're going to find out there. That's not an issue up in Orlando, is it?
Well, yes and no. I mean, if you go to the Everglades, it's definitely a whole nother level. You know, like I've done the Everglades a couple times. I've done them at night, and you definitely, you know, it's the wild, wild west of collecting. Right. You know, as far as I'm concerned, the biggest difference between South Florida and Orlando, where I'm at, is considered Central Florida, but it is definitely more north than like South Florida. And there's plenty of gators and snakes to be worried about. But the biggest difference is when you go further south, you get even more crazy invasives. Like you don't get the big pythons up here. There's not as many crazy invasives like the peacock bass, the jaguar cichlids. We do have some jewel cichlids up here, but it's cool and kind of sad at the same time. Like when you go down to the Everglades and all the small fish you're catching, and you see some neat fish like there's pike lie bears from like South America, but they're not supposed to be there. But there's no like in the Everglades, you'd be hard pressed to find like flagfish and least keely fish because all the jewel cichlids kind of ate them out.
Right.
You could find them, but you find more jewel cichlids than you do of the smaller natives down there. In Orlando, luckily, there's definitely some areas with jewel cichlids, but in Orlando, there's still more area with more of the natives and not as many invasives, luckily.
See, so I wanted to ask you about that. What was the transition to going out in the woods, coming from Long Island, going to Florida, and getting down there with them country boys, and then really being a Gulf Coaster, I would say, because you more relative to Tampa than anywhere else as far as metropolitan. Tampa, Orlando, I consider you a Gulf Coaster. Hurricane hit, that's your ass, So how was that? What got you from, you said you was out there in the creeks in New York and stuff, which is cool as shit, because I bet your appreciation for it now is like way more. The echo's back. How's that? Is that better?
Better.
Okay.
Better.
So how was it making that transition?
Yeah, so not only was it like in Long Island, you don't have to worry about gators or poisonous snakes or bears or that, first off. Second off, you have to remember, like, I'm a person who, like, I'm a big scaredy cat. Like, I'll go swimming. Like, I've gone scuba diving and stuff, but I'm, like, anxious and scared the whole damn time, I don't like to put myself in dangerous situations. Like, if I'm in the ocean and some seaweed touches my foot, I'm like, okay, I'm good. Maybe I'll call it a day today. I don't want to go any further. So coming down here and going collecting in like areas with gators and stuff, definitely I started out in spots where, like a lot of the spots is like there's no gators. Like you're talking about like a retention pond or like a creek that's only like a foot deep where there's not even fish big enough that a gator would want to be there. And then in terms of like going into like when I started going into the real spots, I started doing that with people who had were simply crazier than me. Just like like my buddy Zane and like Magnus and Logan, like they have more knowledge. And I think I was telling you this earlier. It's crazy, but it seems more crazy than it is, because like I remember one time I was out collecting with Zane, and you're in a river that easily has gators in it, and they could be right there and you wouldn't know it. But he sees a snake and he just grabs the snake. He sees it within 2 seconds. He's got his hand on the snake, and I'm thinking this is crazy. But he knew within those 2 seconds exactly what kind of snake it was, and that it wasn't. So it looks crazier than it is, but it is still definitely a little crazy, for sure.
But, I mean, look in a split second though. You have made an analysis, you've made an identification, and you've made a decision in a split second. And that comes from empirical data, yes, reading books, yes, but also that nuance that I talk about. So the difference between having done something and being full of shit, right? So like I was over here grinning because listening to you, it's like this pride feeling of being a country boy. Like that right there, that's the equalizer. That's why I said I'm finna start calling Magnus and them Florida boys. I'm gonna start calling y'all the Avatar crew, because it's FAFO, straight FAFO. Fuck around and find out. And Avatar, if y'all know, nature said no. She tell you get the fuck out. Next thing you know, like you in a bad way. Like you go out there and FAFO. You're gonna find out real quick.
Yeah.
So like being able to have that intimate knowledge of nature to know the difference between a water moskin or a banded water snake, something like that, a canebrae, which is like extremely cool. If y'all got them too, cool ass rattlesnake, man, swamp rattlesnake.
Yeah. Okay.
They take cold too. It's awesome. Like being able to know it though, mind blowing.
Yeah.
So like, what got you in that zone? Like the camaraderie part.
I mean, I'll be the first to admit that I don't even to this day I consider myself like, well, especially when it comes to things outside of fish and just nature in general. I mean, I'm learning and I'll always be learning, but I don't consider myself like an expert on anything, especially not like reptiles and amphibians and other things. But I'm definitely trying to learn as much as I can from friends and just identifying different certain situations, where to be, where not to be. Because like I think it's definitely a little bit of just like there's definitely some craziness out there. Like my friend Kurt from Missouri, we were out collecting in the Ocala National Forest, and this is like a regular river. This is you're seeing alligators swim by, and then you're waist deep with a seine net, 50 feet from them, 50 feet from the ones you see, and you just have to have the confidence that like, okay, it's not, you have to know it's not breeding season, it's not this, it's not that. Like, yeah, there's still risk involved for sure.
Right.
But you're limiting that risk, and obviously if certain signs were to come up, you'd shut it down immediately. Shoot, at that same area, Magnus, we were at that same area when we were out there with the kids, and Magnus didn't stay at the time, but like some gator, like we were just walking around with the seine net, dip nets, and some gator, kind of just rubbed up against his leg and swam by in 4 or 5 feet of water. It's gonna happen sometime,
Let me ask you, have you ever stepped in a gator hole? We call them gully washers down here. Like in the late summer, like in the drought time, where them bull alligators will wallow out a mud hole. So like you'll be in like ankle deep water and you'll be walking and all of a sudden you'll get baptized by the swamp.
I've done that. I don't know if I don't know if I can say it was a gator hole. I've definitely taken my fair share of falls in the swamp. But yeah, no, that's a thing. Like the biggest thing that like, we'll joke around about, but we're being serious, is like the worst thing you could run into is baby alligators. I've never had.
Oh Jesus, no.
If you run into baby alligators, then you know that mama is nearby, right? The best, usually the safe zone for a gator, if it's like 2 feet long, 3 feet long. Obviously, you don't want to deal with any gator, but if it's like a 2 foot long gator, its mom's probably gone. It's not going to mess with you. You're probably okay. But those little baby gators, you run a group of those, that's dangerous. That means
if they can still squeak, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
If like once they get past squeaking age, you almost okay. But yeah, if they can still squeak, yeah, you're gonna get bit.
Yeah.
You should run. So like you going in the swamp, talk about this, right? How like this whole Bear Grylls thing, and I'm not knocking Bear Grylls, but I'm talking about like with the internet, everybody trying to be Billy Badass, like, and the nuance of like these country boys, they can get out there and go catch all kind of crazy shit. Like y'all was catching amphumias. They can do it and stay clean. They can do it and stop at the store on the way home and get beer.
Yeah. I think a lot of that has to do with like kind of knowing the fish or the amphibian and kind of like being it, like knowing what habitat in is, what time of day, maybe going at night is better for that particular species. I have a cousin who lives in Fort Myers who's not into fish really. He had a fish tank for a little bit and he's like supportive. He knows I'm into fish, so he'll like take a picture of like some fish in the creek and he'll be like, oh look, and I'm like, oh, those are probably like gambusia. I'm like, how do you know that? And I'm like, well, just because of like the way they're swimming out in the open and like the habitat they're in, as opposed to like if you're going to try to find a specific fish, very rarely are you seeing that fish before you catch it or net it or whatever. You just know that it should be in this habitat. So then you go search that habitat for it and then hopefully find it, or, look at other reports. But a lot of it to me is I'm impressed when people can do that, can like They research the fish. They find out the fish. They figure out like how it acts, how it eats, where it how it behaves, and then attacks it from that. That's what impresses me, in terms of like learning your knowledge of the fish and being able to find it. And with, even if some people just like to catch them and put them take a picture, put them back. Some people like to keep them in a tank. Whatever your goal
Right.
is.
I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to, and this is just out of curiosity because I've seen you record you going out collecting during the day, and then I've seen you guys do some night stuff. How much of a difference is it collecting in the day and the night? I know there's a lot of different factors that got to be accounted for, but what is the experience like?
Yeah, the biggest thing, I mean, it's going to sound so simple, but the biggest thing is literally like the right proper flashlights. If you get like a dive light, you can see like into the water sometimes. So going at night, especially like in the Everglades, I don't think I put a video out at night in the Everglades. I put out a couple videos at night, but in the Everglades at night specifically, like going after like the pike live bears, they chill on the surface, and at the daytime they're very skittish, super skittish, and you spook them and they're gone. At nighttime, you can kind of creep up on them, you shine a light, and you just kind of scoop them, and you're just like boom, 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 in the right spots. Also, certain things, especially like if you're trying to find like reptiles or amphibians, sometimes they come out at night. Other times, like in the Everglades, the peacock basses and stuff, they're kind of like chilling or sleeping. Like my buddy Mark is an expert at coming up on like peacock bass that are like on the banks at night, and just slowly but surely, just very calculated, netting them up when they're just kind of resting. So and you see different wildlife and stuff sometimes. Like I'm out there for like when we caught the amphiumas at night usually. This one was, which one is? Yeah, this is recent. That's my buddy Mark. That's my buddy Mark recently down in South Florida. He netted that peacock bass. Where it was just kind of chilling there on the bank. I don't know if sleeping is the right term, but just kind of relaxing in the evening. Yeah, it's fun. It's a different world down there for sure. Those ones aren't invasive. Those were actually introduced on purpose. So like in the 80s,
Yep.
They were introduced on purpose as like a sport.
Yep, they wanted to catch them.
Yeah. So most of the invasives were here because either hobbyists released them or fish farms got over flooded by a hurricane or whatever, like some combination thereof. But those ones were released on purpose. It's funny. I was mentioning in Orlando, some of the first wild collecting videos I did in Orlando. There's this creek, because in Orlando we don't have that many invasives, but there's this one creek in downtown Orlando that I guess it's got like a concrete underneath it, so it's not like a natural creek, but that concrete helps it maintain temperature in the winter. So there's like convict cichlids that live there, and like platies and stuff that survive right in Orlando.
That's awesome.
Is that a Mayan cichlid or what is that?
Yeah, it's a Mayan cichlid. Yeah,
It's
there's a lot of Mayan cichlids are very prevalent down there. Oh, right there. See, those are the prawns right there. That's the prawns. Those are those long arm prawns. That's Logan.
Oh, my.
Now, these are
look like the ones.
These are
The ones
juvenile.
that I have.
Yeah, that's Magnus. Yeah, these are not. Yeah, they get much bigger. These are not even. He said like maybe half size, if that. But
Did y'all eat those?
no, we put them right back.
Did y'all get a tax on them?
No,
I'm curious.
I
I'm
don't.
sending this to my buddy. He'll know what it is in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, I think he knows. Magnus knows. I didn't even know the genus Macrobrachium or whatever.
Yeah, it's Macrobrachium all day.
Yeah. He knows what they are. But there's some cool stuff. Like I said,
Dude, that drives me insane, dude. That's badass.
Well, look at what's also interesting is you look at the waterway. Look at all the tannins in that water, but it's still crystal clear.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that, and like you said, right to his right is where it's sourcing from, and to the left, over this waterway or over this roadway to the left is the ocean. That's the Atlantic Ocean, probably like 100 feet away.
So it's brackish water.
For sure.
It's Macrobrachium carcinus.
Look at can you see the tags I put on there? I just put Macrobrachium. Yeah, I just put macro bracket, but I didn't put what they were.
No, yeah, I found it already. Yeah, it's the only. It's native to Florida. Yep, that's it. Beauty
Well, and that's
too.
that. What's also really neat about that video is you can see it's right off the roadway.
Oh.
So anywhere you guys see water, it's you never know what
There
you're
it
gonna
is.
find in those waterways.
Okay.
That's why I like
Yeah.
empirical data, y'all. We ain't got to argue. Science works.
There you go.
That's it right there. Nice
That makes-
too.
But that's a great point because a lot of the spots that I go to, I mean, some of the spots you got to do some trekking. If you're after a certain pygmy sunfish or this or that, you got to maybe find a spot and then do some hiking, whatever. But a lot of these spots, man, you just hop off the side of a road in a ditch, and you can use. I tell people a lot of times use iNaturalist. There's an app called iNaturalist.
Right.
You can look, and people have
look at that right on the side of the damn road.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's
like a foot
an
or two of
overpass.
Yeah, in a foot or two of water. And we caught a couple different things there that day. It wasn't a ton of stuff, but we caught a couple different things there. Yeah.
And see,
So-
this is a good natural representation of clear black water. Look at that water.
Uh-huh.
And it's how the water is blackened. Like, I know it sounds weird, but that water gets filtered through loam and it picks the color up. If you look at the substrate though, that's that sand, pretty sand y'all got in Florida. Lucky.
Yeah, sandy
That
right there.
water is beautiful. It's like tea.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
No, I really enjoy it. Like I said, people, I still consider myself very much like a novice. This is my buddy. These are the there's Sicilians, Amphiumas, and what's the other one? There's Amphiuma, Sicilians, and I think something else. He had 3 different amphibians that he was bringing from Florida.
Oh, the sirens too, right?
Sirens. Thank you, sirens. Yeah, it was Amphiuma, sirens, and Sicilians. This is my friend Kurt. He was bringing them from Florida up to the OCA in no, not OCA, the ACA in Wisconsin.
Look at my comment.
But believe it or not, so the Amphiumas and sirens are actually native, but the Sicilians, it's a very they used to be popular back in the you could find them in pet stores back in the day. My buddy explains them. It's like Jello. It's like holding Jello in a thin casing. It's weird. It's like holding Jello in a condom, kind of. It's weird. It's a very weird animal. But there's actually invasive population in South Florida of those.
Are they Brazilian? What are they? Neotropical? Are they like South American? Or are they old world?
You know
I
what?
don't remember.
I think
I know
they're
they don't
South
belong
American.
here.
Yeah, I think they're South American. I think the Sicilians are.
Like Brazil keep it pop in my head.
Yeah.
That is so cool, man. That's what I said. Y'all spoiled rotten, bro.
Funny thing about this,
down there.
my buddy was telling me this last night. So the Sicilians, he said this is I don't know how it's a cool story. I don't know how true it is, but it's probably somewhat true. He was saying that the Sicilians, how they originally got here, was drug smuggling. So people would take their drug, put them in a black pipe, and then you ship in Sicilians, and all the Sicilians would kind of surround the black pipe, and ain't nobody gonna freaking sort through a bunch of freaking wiggly creatures to then go through or whatever. So they were getting their drugs shipped through with these Sicilians, and they didn't really care about the Sicilians, so they just freaking threw them in the canal, But yeah, this one that you're looking at right now, that was actually me and a buddy seining in Georgia. The one before that was me and a buddy seining. I kind of took a little dive. I fell in. That was back in Florida. But this is rainbow shiners in Georgia.
Okay. Now, is this southern Georgia, North Florida? Give us kind of an idea of where you're at.
This is Cobb County, which is about 15 minutes. This is Marietta, just north of Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm familiar. Okay.
Yeah.
Beauty. I mean, y'all just basically literally went and got minnows out the creek, man.
Yeah, like literally 15 minutes from the meeting spot. My buddy Michael, who I met at the ALA in 2021, he travels, he's collected out of the country and stuff. I've yet to collect out of the country. I want to change that soon. But he's collected in like Colombia and stuff like that. But yeah, this is like a spot he knew. Like I said, it was like 15 minutes from the meeting. I went up there to talk at the Atlanta Aquarium Society, and like I said, the day before, I think it was, we went collecting. We had the evening before, and we just boom, got right on it. It was
I
awesome.
love it, man. This is why I like stuff like this, because us country people, we dispel so many myths, man. Like I always joke and I say Generation X and country boys, between music and the shit we do, we kill racism in the 80s, man. It's if you coming, like our motto is come on. Like how the young kids, like they make fun of memes on TikTok, like the vernacular they use, like they always say, let's go. We've been saying that shit, but we literally meant we was going somewhere. Like, yeah, come on.
Yeah.
So I think that's just cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, and definitely like getting out there, it's fun. Remember I was telling you there's convicts in downtown Orlando?
Yeah.
God, look at the color on that female.
It's fired up.
That is a convict. Wild. As far as I know, I have there's two friends of mine that own a local fish store called Aquascaping Supply here in South Orlando, and they've lived here for their whole lives. And they said when they're in their 40s, and they said when they were kids, they 20 years ago, whatever, 30 years ago, there was these convicts were in that same they've been living feral since then, decades in that stream in Central. It's convicts and platies. They're like a platy.
Hey man, can you give me some of them? Because I've been playing with these comics. I told you I got this harebrained experiment going on. Because they finally got broken up because of what's old buddy name? Makoji be talking about him and Below Water. They went to Central America and they broke the class up. There's a subspecies now of Amatigliana nigrofasciatus. So look at that. That's a female, y'all, by the way.
Yeah. Like, no, if you want to, I can go. I haven't been. The last time I was there was when I didn't take that female home.
I just want
whenever I posted that, it was probably 6 months ago. I don't know. Whenever I posted that, I think the last time I was there. But I'm sure they're still there. They've been there for years. And they're nice. It's crazy because the convicts have such nice color. And dude, the platies, like I said, the platies have been there forever. But they're like that sunset variatus platy. It's insane.
Let me see if I can find them.
Yeah.
Do you got any footage of them?
I'm trying to think if I have any footage on the. I mean, I know I have a video. It's a YouTube. I don't know what it's called though. I went collecting there. There's this bright red ones and various. I went there with Corey from Aquarium Cove at 1.2. There's sword tails there. It's been a while though.
And the cool thing about it is a lot of this stuff is known, but most of it isn't. Apart from my naturalist, like I'm institutionalized because I'm a veteran. So if Uncle Sam say it, it's the truth because they got money and all kinds of, politics behind it. So if you go on USGIS, like the USGI Geological Service survey, they got the different HUCs, the hydraulic unit codes, I think. Jorge, you work in water, you know what they call the hooks, what I call them. And they know the different natives, native transplants, and invasives that's out there in the wild.
Yeah. You go right here. Yeah, right. Yeah. These are some wild videos. That's the Bellonay socks. Those are the ones that it's easier to catch them at night because they're very skittish. Super cool fish. It's a livebearer. It's in the guppy family. It's like a Posilian.
Yeah.
But it's a freaking, obviously it's a carnivore. It's an ambush. It's a predator.
You want to get rid of some mosquitoes and all kinds of nonsense? Put those in the pond.
Yeah, they love. A lot of times I find them with like they eat a lot of gambusia fry, sailfin molly, like latipina.
I don't even know if these are legal in Texas or not.
I'm not sure.
And so you got to check on some of that stuff too. Like y'all cool because they're there. You feel me?
Yeah. There's some states I don't know. Because since I shipped fish, I know that like Maine has a white list. Hawaii obviously has restrictions. I think you know what? I'm almost positive Maine. You're allowed to have the Bellonay socks in Maine. I'm like 80% sure I've shipped Bellonay.
It's so cold up there. I wouldn't see why it would be.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised. Sometimes things don't make sense or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I don't see them surviving. That's a really nice. So the bluefin killifish, there's a lot of different. Depending on where you collect them, there's a lot of different. Like they look different, right? So in
like
this case,
locales.
Exactly, and they're called bluefin killifish. But you see here, It's got like a blue dorsal. It's hard to tell, but it's a blue dorsal and anal fin, but that red caudal, and that's what I like. I like when it's got blue and then red,
I like that. That
blue,
powder
red,
blue
red.
on him.
But the one that I really like, see how the body is like is a golden U throughout the body.
Yeah.
That's what I really like about this specific type of locale. And as you can kind of look, if you look at the area around it, once again you can tell I'm in a little creek. I'm not.
That's a ditch, bruh.
This is a ditch right off the side of the road. Once again, there's like a road.
Ain't no damn creek. Where the creek is? That's a ditch, bruh.
I think I found that video where you guys were collecting out there in Georgia.
Yeah. This is, he reminiscent of a white cloud minnow if you look at him good enough.
Yeah,
You know?
I'm looking. They're right here, right next to me, and they do resemble that.
I mean, just, and people would not know that we have these things local in America. And Mark actually found a population of these in Texas, and we trying to figure out how they got here in our state. We thinking it's from dirt or from plants that was transported some kind of way, like raw agricultural material or something.
Yeah.
I think this is the one where, if I'm not mistaken, those are the platies you were talking about.
Yep, you nailed it, bro. That's exactly. This is the spot with the platies and the convicts. Yep. And once again, this is the spot where it's like, never say never, but the chance
Right.
of running to a gate, I've never seen a gator there. There's not gonna be a gator there, you know. You look, it's like people take wedding photos here, you know.
Right.
Yeah, and I
It was
guess
a gator in there, bro.
What's up?
It was a gator in there.
No, I'm saying there wasn't. There was no. I've never seen a
I
gator.
was about to say shit. It wouldn't surprise me though.
No, that's why I said you never say
Look
never.
at those acacia growing look at all the damn. Look at the ferns. You got acacia. Look at all that shit growing in there, bro. See? Then it's a lot of a lot of Sagittaria too. The arrowhead.
Yeah,
I hate on Florida, bro. I be hating on Florida tough. Like every time I go down there, I act like a kid in the candy store, bro. Like I'm at the Bunny Ranch or some shit. And I got like what Magic Johnson got. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck it, I'm going in. I'm just getting shit. What's that chicken place y'all got down there? PDQ, I think.
Oh, yeah. It's PDQ down here.
Right. Never had this chicken. We was waiting for the chicken because the homie was trying to put me on PDQ chicken tenders. Bro, I was looking at this retention pond because y'all got them everywhere. My country ass was out there in that retention pond getting the anacris, getting all this shit. And these people was just looking at me like, bro. And the homie was like this, bro. Like, bro, I can't take your ass nowhere. Look at that. Just lucky.
People don't realize, yeah, we are. And you can get jaded because, like, it's cool to, like, hop on a ditch. And there's some of these, like Ludwigias and stuff. Like, a lot of the plants, unfortunately, just like some of the fish, are invasive. But there's a lot of different stuff out there, whether you're into fish, plants, amphibians, reptiles, whatever. There's like a lot of different wildlife. But yeah, I can't believe that they've maintained some of that color after, all the years. But yeah, those are some of my favorite spots where it's like, obviously that's not the most rare fish in the world, but you also don't have to worry, you're not looking over your back either.
Right. No, that was awesome. So, like, now that you're doing that, you're traveling more, you're on the commercial side, I would say, of things, like shipping fish, like what you said. Moving forward, like, what's your target, What's your carrot that's in front of you? What are you chasing in regards to the hobby?
I think moving forward, I really want to kind of lean more into, like, I like the club scene. I like some of these, like, shows, like, especially like the ALAs, the AKAs. Like, the other one is the NANFA, the North American Native Fish Association. If you guys are even half, like, earlier in the show, I pointed out my buddy Jose, that because he's like the first one that really kind of was like introduced me to native fish and kind of got me to like see it. And I kind of broke into the native fish side with him. But like I said, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention NANFA. Josh Blaylock is an amazing group of people that are all about native fish. So whether you live in, even if you live in the West Coast up north, there are native Florida without a doubt. I'm lucky living here. We have a lot more diversity than a lot of other states. But even if you live in Washington State or New York or wherever, Indiana, you got something cool. You got sticklebacks. You got some darters. Maybe shoot. If you live in like Kentucky or Tennessee, man,
bro.
I'm jealous of you because all the crazy like the darters and stuff like this. We got some darters down here, but they're not colorful. So if you're interested in native fish, definitely check out at NANFA. It's NANFA.org, I believe. And you can sign up and pay money, but you could join the Facebook group for free. There's a lot of just awesome people that are into native fish. So if you're thinking, man, I'm native fish would be cool, but I don't live in Florida, there's definitely that's a resource you can use to find out what native fish you do have in your area, because you do have some cool native fish that you could probably you got to check your local laws for sure, but you may be able to collect and keep, or just maybe collect and admire, whatever.
I want to push NANFA a little bit more. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I just think it's interesting as a hobbyist to be able to go to any of your local waterways and just out of curiosity see what's living in it. And you'll be surprised what you pull out. The biggest thing for me that I've been the most excited about is I was able to get some well-typed mollies that I got on here, some sail-fed mollies, and it's interesting how we get so used to seeing all of these different selective breeding colorations, but when you go back and look at the actual natural wild type, they're just beautiful. It's just they're very interesting in a different way, but they still have some beauty in them, and that's what I've enjoyed about just going out here with no notions of expectations of finding anything in particular. It's just being surprised, and
that's why it's called fishing and not getting. And that's what I was alluding to. Is I want to keep talking about NANFA a little bit, and kind of like we talked earlier, Ryan, about how earlier this year, me and Jorge started this whole push of natives being stewards of the earth. We got pececillos in La Canal, in La Mata, like outside, bro. And right around that time, Ohio happened. And I was pissed off about Ohio. Because this is when I was less busy. We was finishing up winter, which was slow, and then spring semester has started. So I could bother Jorge more, and I'd be sending him shit on Instagram and bro stuff, political stuff, grown man stuff. And Ohio happened, and I told him, I was like, you know what? My heart is broken for the people, but I was mad than a motherfucker when I could look at them ditches and see them dead fish, and I knew what them fish was, and it hurt because I'd be like, man, there ain't a whole lot of them fish as it is, and now they done fucked around and killed them all, and it's like, who ass do we need to beat? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then I was like, how can we do something? Then after that, the next drama that happened was y'all situation in Florida with the whole whitelist situation.
Oh,
Jorge was in Mexico vacationing, and we was talking about Mexico and the Gadaids and like the Jaliscos, a lot of shit that I got swimming outside right now, some of the stuff you got, and how it's just sad. And things just started kind of growing from there. And it was to where it's like, what can we do? And then slowly but surely, it manifested itself, and it's taken off because we were like, well, who can we talk to? We don't have nobody to talk to. And it goes to the fact that Jorge and me, we were trying to figure out who we gonna have on, how we gonna push this, and the universe took care of it itself. To where not only we got the right people at the right time, but it's literally the right people, because y'all hit us up if we don't hit y'all up. Or on the flip side of that, if we do reach out to y'all like, hell yeah. You sure you want me to do that? Well, what could I could do? Bro, you bring your ass. Come on. And so this is great that we have stuff like that. Never.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it's cool because I mean, fish keeping as a whole. I mean, shoot, you could live you can get into fish keeping at 5 years old, live 100 years, and not even like touch all the different sections of fish keeping, fresh, salt, even just in freshwater, all the different cichlids, all the different nanofish, all the shrimp, the whatever oddball stuff. There's so many little niches you can do, and even within Nampa, even with the native fish, I don't see native like Nampa is very clicky. But if you look, some people like I'm not big into like the bigger sunfishes. Some people will keep like some of the bigger native fish and the bigger predator natives and sunfish. That's not as much, but I think it's cool. And though you guys in their basements, what is it? What's his name? Coldwater Aquariums. He's got a channel. His whole basement is dedicated
to Turtle Aquatics. Yeah. The eel man. Eel pig guy.
Yeah, well, their basements are dedicated to mostly cold water, if not all native fish, and some larger stuff. Whereas I have a lot of native fish, but mostly smaller stuff. And dude, there's dozens, there's hundreds of native species I never even heard of. Which I think is awesome because it's just that much more to potentially, be surprised of. Check off your list eventually next year. Just like ALA. And ACA and all of these, yes, Brandon, Coldwater Aquatics, Brandon and Ness. That's who I was thinking of. I think there's probably other people too, but Brandon and Ness, who I was personally thinking of. But NANFA next year they have their convention too. I went to my first ever NANFA convention earlier this year, and it was amazing. It was in South Carolina. This year it's in Oklahoma. Which I'll be honest, my first thought was Oklahoma. Like what? Like no offense, but my first like Oklahoma. But then I started doing some research, man. Like
there ain't no water in Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma, there's a lot of cool. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff.
Species diversity, bro.
So I'm looking forward to it. Like there's a lot of different darters and like I said, things that we don't have here that they have there and only there. So and once again the people. Like I know it's cliche now, everyone always says that, but it's really cool being with like people that geek out in the same stuff as you do and, learning from them. Because like some of these guys, going back to what we talked about earlier about these national organizations where people specialize in live bears or cichlids or native fish, a lot of these guys have been in there for a while and stick with it and have a lot of knowledge. And it's cool to go to these events and kind of gain some of the knowledge from them.
See, I think it's cool too because like a lot of these people, you can see them at Walmart or something and wouldn't think even it's a dude. That's what at the fish place, and it's like,
well, listen, bro. If you have a lot of fish knowledge and you think you're like famous because of that, you got other issues. Like that's the thing is, you could be the most famous, most knowledgeable fish person in the world, and you still are just a dude. Like it's not like no one's like a celebrity. Fish geek. Exactly. That's cool about it,
Well, I just wanted to add to what Steve was saying, kind of alluding to the whole reason why we kind of went down this rabbit hole. And it all really bears down to what sparked all of this, which was the Lacey Act. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. Even though that did not go through, that does not mean there isn't going to be organizations that are going to try to put an end to what we do as a hobby. There's always going to be that push. So that's how Steve and I got started on this and going, well, okay, why aren't we looking here at our own country and seeing what's available here? Because worst case scenario, if these regulations do come into effect and all of a sudden you can't get fish from other places, well, what's out there for us? So that's kind of how this whole idea of this project that we've been running for the last couple of months started. Was like, all right, why don't we start talking to people that are out there here stateside, doing some of these wild collections, finding out what's available out there in the hobby, and how much people don't understand that the fish that we're finding out there in our own natural habitats can rival any other fish from any other world, any other part of the world. And it's funny because as a society, as humans, we always seem to find ourselves wanting what we can't have or what's not right here for us. And that's why we kind of wanted to do this, is to kind of be able to provide like a spotlight on the species that are here locally that, they really don't have anything really to ask from the other species that are out there, because we have some very unique, some very nice species here that we can keep by ourselves. And that's how this really started. It was kind of more of that that idea of, okay, if this goes away, we're not going to quit being hobbyists. That's not going to happen. Just because you can't go out and buy new fish, it's not going to stop you from finding a way to keep what's around you.
Yeah.
Basically,
Go ahead.
that's what it was. Well, I got pissed because it was to where it was like when the consensus, the consensual representation of the hobbies is people arguing about animal husbandry. Of course, you can get organizations that don't want people to have a fucking hamster to come say some stupid bullshit and get some legislation passed. But when you got smart people like me, like you, like Jorge with some balls and tact that can get up here and eloquently articulate the way it needs to with empirical data, and we got letters behind our name to boot, that's how you get shit changed and we can keep what we have. And that's why, we're doing what we're doing. So like it all goes together.
Yeah. No, that's a good point though, about like, even if those issues do come up again and for some reason some crazy laws get implemented or there's a dramatic shift in how or what we can keep, that's a great point in terms of like, well, we do have a lot of stuff here in our own backyards that makes great aquarium fish. And the cool thing is we have a lot, it's all new to a lot of people, even to me, even to someone who keeps some fish. There's still a lot of stuff that's new to me. Yeah. And it would be new, like certain darters that would be new to everybody in the hobby, like it just be, there's cool, neat stuff that I think some of the reasons is, it's not bred readily right now, but there's not a need to. I think if things were to get passed and whatever, like you said, Jorge, like we would, if there's a will, there's a way. People would make those fish more available, and the people would learn about them more. Right now, the ones I feel like the most popular native fish are the ones I call like the superlatives, like the least killifish, because everyone considers it. It's true. It's actually the second smallest live bear in the world, but it's the smallest in North America. Some people think it's the smallest in the world. Regardless, it's got that like smallest or second smallest or smallest in the and then the flagfish is another popular one. It's beautiful, the males especially, but also because they're known for like a voracious algae or even eat blackbeard, right? So the flagfish, the least killifish, some of these fish that quote unquote have a job or they're known for being like the smallest or the best at this, those ones are the ones we see more popular. Probably the one that I see is like the pygmy sunfish. That one doesn't really have a job.
Listen. Yeah,
it's just awesome.
Rainbow Shiner too now is trendy. I call them trendy. You say superlative. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, those are the ones. They solidify themselves.
Are trendy, but Steve, let me ask you this: Why is the Rainbow Shiner trendy? I'd argue it's because it's the brightest and the most pretty rainbow shiner. It's the superlative of rainbow shiners. Yeah, some people would argue. But yeah, so people like the rainbow shiner. It's a gorgeous fish.
That's just like the Gilberti. That's why I have the Paraphanius minto. And like even the way we got him, me and Jorge was shooting shit about the natives, and I was talking about how I was like, no, bro. I was talking about taxonomy in biology and shit. I was like, no, bro. They split, you know what I'm saying? And it's a link in there. And like the pupfish in Arizona and shit. And he was like, oh, that's like them Mentos I got. I was like, you got those? And he was like, yeah, I got a tank full of them, bitch.
All three of us have a Phineas Mento. That's funny. You both of you guys have a Phineas Mento? I have a Phineas Mento too. That's a fish. Yeah, that's a fish that's like not that common, right? It's not that
no.
Funny.
And I seen them motherfuckers wild when I was in the Persian Gulf, and that's why I freaked out. I was like, nah, I'm sitting up here bored as hell, hoping I don't die watching them beat the shit out of each other in mud puddles full of snot algae. Yeah. And
I've had mine only for a couple months. I got mine from a guy, Mitchell in Atlanta, when I was up there. And dude, he has like this, it's hard to explain it. He has this like, it's an above ground pool. It's like a hexagon shape or octagon shape, like an above ground pool. And think of it as like, it's hollow, like the walls of the above ground pool are still there. So it's still like, 3 foot, 4 foot tall walls, but the middle is not a pool anymore. The middle is just like grass, just hollowed out. So essentially it's just like a fence that is like an octagon shaped fence and then he kind of built like a it's I guess it's a greenhouse on top of it, but it looks more like a hut. But it's like this octagon greenhouse that used to be an above ground pool. But anyway, he's got like a bunch of tanks in this outdoor fish room, and one of the fish he has in there is the Aphanius mento, and they are so lit the f up. It's incredible.
Yeah,
Like
mine black, bro.
Oh my god!
I was showing people videos of mine at Taco, and they was like, "The hell?" Yeah, and they're bracket, they're Eurohaline, man. They're Eurohaline. They take salinity.
That makes sense. Well, yeah, they're like a
desert.
They're like I remember my buddy.
Is where they be at.
One of my killifish friends from down in South. He has them too, but I didn't get them from him. I remember like a year or two ago. He's like, Ryan, you keep Lake Tanganyika cichlids. You should keep the Aphanius mento, and you keep it just the way you keep the Lake Tanganyika cichlids in that harder water or whatever. But yeah, they're a cool fish. Really cool.
Yeah,
fish.
They like Houston water because we got liquid rock coming out of the tap. Like mine, they be out there. They look like Avatar, bro. They look just like Gilberti. They are black. Like average engine is that gray color, you know? Or that like that grayish iridescent color. These were black. Like, I don't know if I can find the video. Or you got a video, don't you? His is black too.
Let me see.
Like they're super dark. I'll send you a video of them. But this is the kind of stuff like I call them Earth natives. So I've been on this CARES kit, but not really just because of CARES, but more of 2023. They cutting trees down. Everybody on this electric car kit. Well, look, man, I'm not juxtaposed to not fucking up the earth. I want to be a steward of the earth too, but I'm a data guy. The processes of getting the minerals and components, the raw components required to have green energy is extremely detrimental to a lot of niche biomes. And we lose a lot of fish, Achilles, man. So if you think about the Congo in central, equatorial, West Africa, where all the cool shit come from, Bivaltatum, Sheely, all the cool killifish, Pundalo Panchax, the Galaris come from Nigeria, Cameroonian border, all these fish, right? That area not only is in war, but it's just
that's not the word.
Decimated by pollution because of industry. So the hope is to get the focus on it so people start paying attention to other stuff like Ohio. Because if it killed those fish, well, once you have something that's visceral, mutual investment or association with something, you approach it differently. And my thing is education and understanding, not telling somebody they're wrong and trying to push rhetoric or my opinion on them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if I see something precious and view it as that, I'm going to be a steward of it rather than viewing it as a commodity and something that I have dominion over. I view it as a respectful, like a mutuality, right? Like this synergy of, hey, man, I got to take care of this shit. You see what I'm saying? So like when I'm stopped at a red light and I'm holding up traffic, people honking at me because I'm looking at all the Rotella and Luigi and shit in the ditch. Like it's because it's precious to me now. Like, man, ooh, that Rotella ain't supposed to be here. You know, but it's good.
I think that's a great point, though. Like when you get out and you can experience it yourself and you're catching these fish in the wild and seeing these plants in the wild, you're more connected to it. So you care about it more and you're more driven to protect it and maybe even not just the ones you see, but then maybe you can, understand why it's important to protect some of the stuff that, is in Africa, in South America, in places that maybe you haven't even seen yet. And I think that's another good reason when you get involved with people like in these organizations, whether it be a fish club or a national, cichlid library club or a NANFA especially, there's a lot of people in these organizations that work at, a lot of times for their job. They may work in some kind of conservation as well, or they volunteer in other conservation organizations. So if that's something that you're looking for an outlet to maybe do that as well. Definitely, like these groups in NANFA, you'll find other people that are passionate and want to help support, save and raise money for, like, whether it's the G'day Working Group or stuff like that. There's a lot of people volunteering their time and money and fundraising to try to help protect some of these fish and environments, here in the States and across the globe.
It's a good point. Like, and even if you don't get paid in money per se, you get paid in like 1 or 23 in the United States fish. Like,
well, I was going to say the cool thing to me is like,
yeah,
you're getting to keep some cool ass fish. Like, I just recently got some. Like, I've been really getting into wild type livebearers, specifically like G'dayids this year. And in the last couple months, I've gotten the Cracodon audax, which is it's called the Black Prince G'dayid, as well as Cracodon lateralis, which yeah, and they're cool as heck, man. And they're like a niche fish. I think a lot of people, I didn't even know they existed until like, a year ago or something like that, maybe. But it's just cool because they're fish that, like, I don't think you could find either of them in the wild anymore. A lot of the G'dayids are endangered or extinct in the wild already. And it's cool. It's a cool another aspect to keep fish that, you can't find in the wild anymore, or, very rare in the wild.
Yeah, if you really want to get into them and you want information on them, here in the chat you'll see Skull Aquatics. I'll bring him up real quick.
Go holler at Curtis.
Curtis, that's your guy. That's who you want to talk to. If you want to talk about G'dayids, he's the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, we had him on as our guest the last time we had the show. But he's even got a direct connection to Greg Sage for some of his what is it, the name forgets.
There's the zipper
the trout goodies, the
trout goodies, the trout goodies.
Ilodon furcidens. Ilodon furcidens. Yeah, I'm excited because Greg Sage is actually coming to speak a week from today. Actually, next Saturday, I'll be the first time I get to see Greg Sage talk. He's talking at my fish club over in Spring Hill. So if you're anywhere in Florida, Greg Sage will be talking next weekend, Saturday, at the Aquatic Club of Pasco County. I'm really looking forward to that one.
That's gonna be good, man. Are you gonna be posting any footage for the people if they want to check you out later on?
What do you mean?
When you go to see Greg speak?
I may post a couple clips. I don't know. We'll see. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't think that club usually doesn't like broadcast the meeting. Like, some clubs will broadcast the speaker. This club usually doesn't do that. So I don't think we'll do that. But I probably will post some things, and then I'm supposed to. I have tentative plans to actually do some night collecting after that meeting. Not with Greg Sage. I mean, he's more than welcome to come. But I don't know the guy. But no, with some friends, we're going to do some night collecting, I think, after that meeting, which should be fun. It's in an area that I've never been before, so it should be cool.
Okay, so we're talking about collecting at night, and Jorge brought it up first a while back. So let's talk about, like, the truth of it, like being realistic, right? I'm in my 40s. Y'all older. We ain't spring chickens no more. So let's talk about, like, the realistic parts of knowing your limitations, managing your expectations, and really being open-minded. And I say that because as much as people like to shit on them, these younger generations, and whatever names they've attached to them, they really have changed my perspective on a lot of stuff. They want to do good, but they ain't been here long enough to know, like, they don't know enough to know better. And one of the things that you brought up, it resonated with me. You were talking about, like, knowing species in your backyard and protecting stuff in countries like South America, Mexico, stuff like that. And, like, what human activities do we do that could contribute to displacing these creatures, right? And I got into a conversation / debate with one of my colleagues at school. I was volunteering because I volunteer outside of lecture. And he was talking about being vegan. And like at first, like the Navy, to say the better, I'm finna get him. Like, I'm gonna light his ass up and, talk shit. Like, fuck Bambi, I got some in the freezer, hit a couple squirrels on the way. I was gonna roast him up good, but I listened to him. And it went off in my head like, he want to do good. He see there's something wrong and he want to do right. Like, he don't want to be a piece of crap. And that's applaudable. But he don't know enough to know better. So when I approached it from, like how I say, love and responsibility, but if you've ever taken any leadership development courses, it's education and understanding. When I approach it from that aspect, then I begin to educate him. I used aquariums, something that was neutral because he wasn't interested in aquariums. But I used aquariums and I used Bucephalandra. I used celestial pearl danios and nanofish. And what I did was I painted a realistic picture that I could substantiate with empirical data to show him. And the thing he knew about that we both knew about was how Burma went from Burma to Myanmar back to Burma because he one of them social justice warriors, as we like to call them. He want to save the world and shit. So he knew about that. So I was telling him, okay, cool. So you tracking. And I was explaining to him how a lot of species inundated the hobby when the political change took place in that region because we were able to access species previously identified by science, but inaccessible to the hobby for like 40 years, 50 years, notably the Suelius, all of them, a couple of the Gara species, a lot of these nanos that we have. So what I equated to him was being vegan, right? I was like, look, bro, when they grow plants for agriculture, it ain't sustainable. They kill everything, bro, because they want to make money selling their vegetable-based stuff.
Yeah.
When you eat palm oil sugar, what you don't understand is you're incentivizing the destruction of the very thing that you're trying to protect. So what you're doing is exercising futility because you're standing on the side of convenience rather than looking at you and saying, how am I contributing to it? Rather than viewing it from piety and I'm making a statement. I said, look, when you're starving, you don't really give a shit if it's pork, chicken, white sugar, brown sugar, food bank, welfare, Costco, Publix. You don't care. You're hungry.
Calories, yeah.
And I was like, approach it. Leave your privilege. Leave your place of privilege. Okay? Because you have the ability to choose to be vegan. If you were forced to, I promise you want a ribeye. And when I approached it that way, and he seen it, he was like, "Damn, I ain't think, and he, like, I could tell because we both was quiet and we both was marinating because I learned some shit and he learned some shit, so he was processing. No, just doing our work and stuff. But yeah,
no, that's good. You make a good point about like so many different factors can affect what's available in the hobby here versus there versus what's popular versus this fishery, whether it's here locally or nationally, or maybe it's like South America, like Brazil shut down, so now all of a sudden zebra preckle prices goes up, or like all these things. It can happen domestically or internationally. I think another organization I'll shout out is, I'm sure you guys have heard of it, Project Piaba,
Yeah.
whereas they work with different farmers right down in South America to kind of, hey, say, listen, instead of this is it's a livelihood. You could make a living, a sustainable living, catching these fish and selling them to the
See?
aquarium trade, and you want to protect this natural habitat instead of letting gold miners take it over, instead of whatever.
Boom.
It's
Put
valuable.
mercury in the water and all that, you know?
Yeah, it's valuable. Now it's valuable to them from a livelihood standpoint. To maintain it as a fishery, a sustainable fishery, as opposed to letting it get contaminated with whatever the heck. But it happens here too. Like, I'm not going to go on too much of a tangent, as I'm not even.
Well, no, what you just said is close to my own heart. That's why I perked up, because that's what I'm going for. That's what I'm pursuing. My degree is in sustainable growth systems and greenhouse technology. And I'm using the fact that I'm already a master certified food, all my stats, hell, all the college I already have, to position myself to be a consultant, specializing in polyculture, third world countries, combating food insecurity, and saying, hey, man, okay, you already killed nature with these coconuts. Instead of putting this poison and shit here, let's do polyculture. Let's take a multifaceted approach. Let's use nature. Let's look at niches. Let's make money off of every niche, because y'all need to eat. And I like AC2 Wi-Fi. It's amazing. But sustainability means that integration, synergy. So, like, this is not a tangent. I'm literally devoting life and money to this very cause instead of, preaching on YouTube.
Yeah, no. But I was gonna say, I was gonna mention the Everglades. I was about to go on a tangent about the Everglades and how, if you're interested, like, it sounds like you obviously are, Steve. You're pursuing like a degree in this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people don't realize that the Everglades themselves have been impacted heavily by man, and the Everglades actually start like in Orlando, like north of Orlando, and it's been altered. So how that whole how the Everglades is actually a really long river. It's a long, wide, slow flowing river essentially, and it's been altered for us to live in certain parts of Florida that were inhabitable for nature but not inhabitable for man. So they switched up how the Everglades worked years ago, decades ago, to turn certain parts of wetlands into structures now and livable land. And but it's interesting because it happens, it already happened here, in the not too distant past, and it's happening, still here
right now.
Yeah.
Well,
but yeah, no, there's
what?
definitely some good documentary information out there.
That's what I was just about to mention, the documentaries, because there's so many avenues to jump into it from, to where, like, you talking about the Everglades being altered by man, there's documentaries talking about environmental discrimination. Marinate on that for a little while. And in how, in the history of the Everglades, in them making it, molding it so it could be livable, it displaced and screwed over poor people. They the ones that had to live over there and get their stuff flooded and get malaria and mosquitoes and this and that. And there's this avenue. Maybe that's your thing, You're a social justice warrior. You like that. Well, there's a such thing as environmental discrimination. These same people that's killing the earth, usually the people that get hurt the most, the hardest, the first, are the disproportionate people in society, the marginalized people in society.
Yeah.
Just saying, there's all the different facets to jump into it from.
No, I agree. It's a tangled web we weave, as they say, right? There's so many things. There's a lot of variables. Just like fish keeping, there's so many freaking variables. That's why it can frustrate us sometimes when things go wrong in the tank, because it's not just like 5 variables, it's 500,
So we got about 5 minutes. Real quick, talk about some of your pet projects. I wanna pick your brain about the calicos, the Placo breeding. Maybe the people don't know you specialize
Yeah.
in some of the exotic in Placos and the Frontosas that everybody claims are so hard to breed and keep raised to fry, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a listen. I don't claim to be like I've never developed anything. I didn't develop any calico strain. You know, when the calico strain that I got was off of Reddit years ago. Some lady out of Colorado already had like these nice calico plecos. I call them like a marble calico because they have like a high amount of the super red burnt orange color, and you know, and then some of that black marbling mixed in. They weren't like a kind of a peppered one, and I didn't develop that strain, but some lady had them. They bred true, so I just kept that strain separate and worked on it. I didn't really try to, you know, I just tried to maintain it, you know, and not I don't get credit for it. But I've worked with them. I've bred those for generations, and I've bred in long fin calicos that in my opinion weren't as nice of a calico, but had long fin, and I tried to make like a nicer long fin calico. But more recently, the Frontosa for sure. I recently got some Claro Plecos. I haven't bred those yet. But with the Frontosa, man, like the truth is with the Frontosa, man, I just did like a cheat code where I wanted Frontosa for years. Like since I started my channel, I got a deal. I got a 6 foot, like I was a 125. I think I got a 125 for $100, and I had to drive. It was something happened on OfferUp where they had listed it in Orlando. It was $100. I reached out to them. They're like, yeah, it's $100.
I seen you posted. You got that bitch. I was mad too.
but it's actually, it wasn't in Orlando. It was like 2 hours away. But I was like, screw it. It's $100 for a full. It was a stand, a tank. It had fish.
Lucky,
it had
bro.
It had everything. It was $100, and I was like, screw it. I'm driving 2 hours for it. So I drove and I got it, and it had like the fish were tinier fish. I put those fish in smaller tanks, and my dream from the get go was always like eventually Frontosa. But at the time, like they're expensive fish. They take long to grow out. So my goal was to, instead of buying Frontosa at like a fish store size and growing them out for 3, 4, 5 years to breed them, my goal was to keep my eyes peeled for a really good deal. Kind of like I started my channel making a lot of deals, right? I had to get, you know, flipping stuff, finding free and cheap stuff, you know, whether it be fish or tanks. And I was like, listen, I'm just going to keep my eyes peeled for a nice deal on a group of Frontosa. And I ended up buying 8 Frontosa that were sexually mature. I didn't buy them as a breeding group, but I just found them on Craigslist, $200 for 8 sexually mature Frontosa.
Yeah.
And I had a 180 tank at this point, and literally they were breeding for me within like 3 or 4 months. You know, so like I kind of took a cheat code, whereas I was just instead of buying juveniles and spending years waiting to grow them up, I just spent years looking on Craigslist for the deal, and it took me a couple years, and I finally found a group for $200, and now I've been breeding them. Now, like at any given time, I have tons of, you know, holding females. But yeah, that's the pattern where it's like it's orange and brown. It's not like orange with brown peppering, and it's not like super dark. If you look at the belly is more orange, and when they stress out, they get lighter. As opposed to when they stress out, they don't get dark when they stress out. They almost turn like pale when they stress out.
Yeah.
Well,
I ran one of your females to the Super Red's Eye. I was running, and these things are bulletproof, man. They're tougher than woodpecker lips. The mailman that I had in Virginia Beach sucked, and I'm still active duty. And I done hooked it up with Ryan to get one of these. I was like, come on. I damn near begged, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, come on, bro. Let me get one. He was like, I got some mail. I was like, nah, bro. Fuck it. I'll wait. As soon as you get a female, even if it's a shitty one, just let me get it. And he was like, all right, bro, bet. And I got the fish, and I came home. The box still wasn't there. And I looked at my app to see where the box was, and it said it was delivered. And I was like, I ain't hear no damn doorbell or nothing. I went outside. You hear me? And the box was laying on its side, and I saw the piss stain on the box. which meant it was leaking. And
Not
I
a
mean, as
good
soon as I saw it, I was like, you know, like a bitch. And I grabbed it and ran in the house. And you know, I was like, what fucking, you know, I opened it. Everything in there, the other stuff I got from him was cool. And I saw the bag, and it was my worst fear. Because if y'all ever got anything from Ryan, he uses breather bags. He does it right. And there wasn't no water in that bitch. And I was like, oh, geez. But something told me, it's a Placo, man. Them some bitch, you can bank these things in 80-degree, 90-degree weather, and some bitch will live for 2-3 days. So I looked and I saw this little thing going like this, like a frog, you know, the throat movement. And I was like, bullshit. And I hurried up and opened the bag and dropped her in the tank, and she darted down. And I was like, fuck yeah. And I grabbed my phone like I always do and left Ryan a voice note. And I was like, man, things tougher than fucking woodpeckers. I was like at 500, you know, but just dope fish. That was a cool run of Placo.
Yeah, I think, and it's fish is like, I mean, I'll admit, like plecos, especially bushy nose, they're not difficult to breed. I think depends on the water. Like for me, they weren't that hard to breed. Guppies were harder for me to breed at first than the plecos, but I think that really helps kind of, you know, bring you along, keep you, you know, in the hobby when you could breed something. Certainly, I mean, I learned after a year or two. I remember my buddy, actually, I call him Frontosa Steve, because he had all these Frontosa, and he didn't care about breeding them or selling them. And like for years, I'm like, dude, you're crazy, man. And then I realized that, you know, certain people enjoy the hobbies in certain ways. Some people like to breed stuff, some people don't. Some people like to sell stuff, some people don't. And I realized, like, okay, people get enjoyment out of it different ways sometimes, you know.
Yeah. I'm kind of like that, you know. I don't really so much care about breeding them because I know on the other end of it, it's like, what the hell am I gonna do with the babies? You know, when you got all these puppies, what you gonna do with them? And then vetting people out to give them to, because they are my puppies. I want to take care of them. I want them to go to a good home. So it's like you just go by feeling, and you know when it's time to keep some fry and when it's not time to keep some. So I just kind of, you know, that's how I do it too. So
yeah.
Well, if you ain't got nothing else, Jorge, you got anything real quick or?
No, I just wanted to thank Brian for taking time out of his schedule and joining us today. I know it's been a minute since we've seen you on YouTube, but I know I've been following your stuff on Instagram, and I recently when it popped up where I started discovering you on Instagram is when you put up your post for the T-shirts you were selling.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
and then that kind of linked me into the loop. But yeah, I had got back and kind of looked at your channel and noticed that it had been about a year since the last video you had posted. But it's, you know, I knew you were doing stuff because you were out there collecting, and I know I've seen you pop up here and there as guest speakers in some of these clubs, because I follow all the clubs. Any club that's on social media, I usually follow them. Not that I'm going to ever go there, but I'm always curious to see what's going on at those clubs. And so that's how I was kind of keeping track of to what was going on with you. But you know, it's I was really looking forward to it because I've been wanting to meet you for a long time. So
yeah. No, I appreciate it. I'm glad you guys reached out. I'm happy to do it. Hopefully, maybe, you know, I like I said, the one thing I plan on doing more of is events, whether it be like fish events. Like if you're in the Florida area, you know, I don't think aquarium club, the aquatic club of Pasco County in Spring Hill, which is just north of Tampa. It's Pasco, PASCO fish.com. There's the Tampa Bay Aquarium Club, TBAS1, just the number 1.com. And then there's Space Coast Aquarium Club. I'm at all those clubs regularly. I hope to be at more. Shoot, man, I was having serious FOMO watching those videos of Keystone Clash. That thing looked like really cool. Did you guys get there? Or no?
No, we didn't get to go, but
No.
yeah, I know a lot of the people here in the
Yeah.
chat and just within the fish fan community we're up there, and everybody seems to have the same comment. I think the way I look at it for as content creators, it's really cool because it's an opportunity for everybody to come together. So there's that opportunity to finally do the face to face with a lot of people that you either know or you follow or you respect, whatever the case is. But that gives you the opportunity. It's like a hang.
Yeah.
But I wanted to find out about the event itself, how it was,
Mhm.
and you know, I finally saw a interesting video that was put out by Select Pet, which you know, kind of that's the side of this. That was the other side of that event that I really wanted to know what it was like. And for the most part, it seemed like it was a very great event. But like all up and coming events, it got little quirks they got to work out. But that's good. That means
Mhm.
it's there's opportunity for growth. There's opportunity for improvement. And to me, it's gotten to the point where what's appealing for me now, if I was going to do an event, it's going to be the Keystone Clash. I could care less about Aquashella now, because it's
See?
not what it's not what used to be appealing. Aquashella, it's not what it used to be appealing to me as a consumer and as a content creator. Now it seems like it's shifted more towards these smaller local events that are put together. And I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully next year I can make it. You know, it's hard for me because I'm on the totally opposite side of the country.
It's still crazy that California, because like obviously the hobby.
Y'all got a lot, don't y'all?
How is there not like? Yeah.
Here's the thing though, California is so expensive
Yeah.
that it gets to the point where just trying to rent out an event venue for to hold anything like this, you're talking millions of dollars. So you know,
See, it's not the social aspect for me. It's I don't have nowhere to put all them damn fish. Like Jorge talking about getting content, bro. I go to do stuff to get content, and I be like, man, I forget to turn the camera on because I get consumed by what I'm doing, you know. And it's like, oh shit, I got to videotape it, and then I'm like at that moral conundrum of which one, because I can't half-ass it. You know, I gotta give full attention to whatever which pick one. So phone stay in the pocket, man. And like where I'm gonna put the fish, because as we have said several times, you come across some of the like showroom floors, like I call them Eleanor's.
When you just
don't
pull a
see
fish
those-
out of the water and it's like a showstopper, just like a
like
Eleanor.
you just it's Eleanor. What was that movie? Gone in 60 Seconds, I think.
Seconds.
Yeah, like them. And even at these auctions, bro, you look at some of these fish lists, and it's like, how did he get that? I don't care. I want it, and I'm getting it.
That's what I learned. Sometimes when you see something and you want it, you got to get it because you may never see it again. Yeah.
Yep. You better get it. But if nothing else, then I appreciate you for coming on too, bro. Especially short notice how it was. And just, you know, a little curveball, but it is what it is. I wanted to say I appreciate the humility and just the honesty, bro. What you see, what you get type of guy. You passionate about the stuff. You walking the walk. You know, you give credit where it's due. And for y'all folks, when y'all hear me always bitching about empirical data and citing your sources and blah, 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 look at Ryan and just look at how he carries himself. That's the nonchalant way to do it. And just be a good dude. Prime example, if y'all attention span is good enough, the last 4 minutes ago, we were talking about the Playcos and full disclosure. That's a perfect example. Humility and citing your source, man. That's how we grow as a hobby, because all that information there now, and y'all can go and do y'all own Inspector Gadget search, and we can get some more cool fish out there.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you coming up, bro.
No, thank you guys. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it a lot, and hopefully we'll all get to meet up at some event, Keystone Clash or something like that. Probably, like you said, one of these regional kind of events seem to be the new hot thing. So
I come to Florida, bro.
Steve's got a new event coming to Houston. It's the first time you're doing it. They're trying to make it sound like it's an Aquashella. It's called the Aquarium National Expo. Originally, what it was, it's a big reptile expo that they were to have, from what I'm understanding, because I've been trying to research.
Oh yeah, I took over Repticon with fish.
Yeah, but they've added the aquarium side to the event. That's the new part of it. I reached out to him because I wanted to get information, probably put out some content out there on them, but
Yeah, it ain't been getting no buzz here on the pipeline as of yet.
well, not only
So,
that,
we'll
they
see.
just kind of reached out and told me, yeah, we're the biggest event, and that was it. And I was like, well, is there anybody I can talk to so that I can interview and do something, help you guys promote it? Nothing, man. It's just, I don't know. It's one of those.
We shall see.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, you're out there, Steve. You need to go because you're there just to give us a report if it's worthwhile or not. It's December 9th and 10th, I believe, somewhere around there.
Crowdsource my bill.
It's going to be at the NGR, where the Texans play.
All right. As long as y'all crowdsource my bill, I'll go.
Dude, it's only
Crowdfund that
$50.
shit.
$50, really? Shit, I'd have to pay more to get out there.
It ain't gonna cost $50 to get out of jail, bro. It's Harris County.
Why are you going to
You
go
better
to
add
jail?
some zeros.
You hear him? He said he wants to crowdsource his bail. His bail.
Oh, his bail. Okay. Okay, I didn't hear that side of it.
I ain't the gathering type. I'll go sit in somebody's living room all day long. I'll go sit outside on the cooler and talk about catching rainwater and shit, diapauses of certain species of killifish.
What are you Houstonians? You got so many people out there in Houston.
Man, do you go?
Mandy. She's going to be like, what am I going to do everything?
Watts will pull up. Watts a socializer. He'll go. He adventurous.
Yeah.
He'll go. He good with people and everything.
All right. Well, we've taken up enough of your time, Ryan. So thank you very much for coming up here. Thank you, everybody that's been joining us. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. It's just been one of those. I've enjoyed these last couple of months with the streams we've been doing because it's just it's crazy how we stumbled upon this just really over a conversation because at first our streams were always informative or trying to make them informative, but they were all over the place.
Sure.
As far as not following a theme, from week to week, our mistake was we were trying to take very large topics and trying to condense it all into a couple hours, and half the time we left a lot of information on the table. It wasn't until we decided to do this where it became more of a long form with other people involved along the same path. And I've really, really enjoyed this. Hopefully those of you that are following us have picked up on that and can also say that it's been something that they've been finding interesting. Because if it's so, I think this from now on, this is kind of the direction we move forward. I'm just from a selfish point of view, because I really have learned a lot and I have really enjoyed it.
Well, it's impactful.
I think you have to be selfish to a certain extent. If you're making, I think you're going to put out better. If you're enjoying it thoroughly, then you're just going to put out a better product yourself. So you kind of have to be selfish a little bit in that regard. Whereas you got to, it really helps to enjoy the content that you're producing or creating.
Mm-hmm. It's true. I'm seeing it. It's impactful. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing people post more ditch videos, more nature stuff, going outside getting stuff.
That's the thing that I'm really starting to find more people willing to go outside. Just take a look. You never know what you're going to find. I mean, it's just, it doesn't cost you anything to do it either.
Exactly. And that's why I harp on the safety aspect of it. Not to be negative or pejorative or take a stab at nobody, but I do it from love. I don't want nobody to get hurt. Y'all go enjoy nature. That's what the Lord give it to you for. But do so responsibly within your limitations, legally, all that good stuff. Drink water, all that shit.
I know. Great. The drink water is a great point. The legally is a really good point because just the same, like not to be like the negative person, but along the same lines as terms of like the same reason why you want to be safe and do things, not get hurt and ruin your day, or even worse, you want to make sure you don't want to do something illegal and then all of a sudden you're ruining your day or even worse.
Right.
But usually the keywords to look for, like each state's different, but the keywords usually are like you want to, you usually looking for non-game fish or bait fish. Different states call it something different, but usually if the fish you're looking for are like non-game fish or bait fish, you have a lot more flexibility in some states. Now in some states, like I think like Tennessee is like you can't keep anything you collect. There's definitely some exceptions, but typically like non-game fish and bait fish, the stuff that we care about, you know, the nano smaller stuff, the minnows, so to speak, the shiners and all that stuff, usually is more flexible in terms of the rules and keeping them and such. But definitely do your research.
Right.
And if you see a game warden out there, just ask them. You know, it doesn't take much. Just go up to them. Hey, look, you know, I'm kind of interested in doing this. Is it something I can do, or do I need a permit, or can't do? You know, it doesn't hurt. Just to
hell, you might educate them. Some of them just have a criminal justice education background, not a biology background.
That's a great point, Steve. I've had a couple instances where
I have done it.
I've ran into FWC officers here in Florida. That FWC in Florida, that's like, you know, that's who you deal with. That's the regulating. So there's been a couple times where I've been out collecting because, like I said, I'm not usually like in the middle of the woods, 7 acres in. I'm literally like on the side of the road, and sometimes you'll have FWC officers just driving by. So I've been stopped.
Yep.
Typically, they're super cool. They just want to make sure you got all your ducks in a row. And when they go, "Hey, what's in their bucket?" and I go, "Elosoma evergladii," they go, "Huh?" You know, like they don't, they just want to make sure it's not like, you know, they don't really know. They just want to make sure you're cool and you're not shady and whatever, you know.
I laugh because it's funny, because when you run across a game warden, if you're not like used to rural shit like me, like going hunting and shit, you'll understand like the context of interacting with a game warden. So imagine the look on their face when somebody like me, gold teeth and shit, and I say, Elosoma gilbertii, and they like, fuck you over here with your fancy words, boy, talking sick, you know, but they cool, man, and that usually will do it right. You're not getting shot after you say some shit like that. That's my point. But if y'all ain't got nothing else, man, well, I don't want to take it because we'll be here another 45 minutes talking about the taxonomy of you know, like amphumia or some shit.
All right, guys. Well, thank you, and we'll catch you guys in a couple of weeks.
Already. Y'all have a blessed one.
Take care.
All right.